So, I'm sure many of us have experienced losses in our lives. There's an old hymn that says, when we suffer loss, yet I have gained. I always wondered what that meant. And some hymns say, I shall not suffer loss. You know, the old hymns. And you just get confused thinking, what are they talking about losing and gaining? Well, I suppose a worldly mindset wants to accumulate a lot of stuff, money, possessions. A man's judged according to the type of wife he has, how many kids he has, the size of house he has, the type of job he has. A woman is normally judged these days not in biblical standards, but on the clothes she wears, the perfumes, the makeup. And this is even pastors' wives, by the way, these days, in these absolutely sick worldly churches that call themselves, we're the Church of Jesus and Church of Christ and Church of this and Church of that, And you see the pastors' wives wearing like short dresses, what have you. They might not wear short dresses, but the point is that they're always so judged on their appearance. That's how people judge, I've never done that in my entire life. I've never understood that. I've never been of that mindset ever. And I've always wondered why. Like, I've been different than other people. Why my mind's always been completely different. And it's when I got saved, for those that have read about my testimony, when I got saved when I was about almost 15 years old, when I said the sinner's prayer, and the Lord really did come into my life. It wasn't just mouthing a prayer and saying, I'm saved now. I truly laid my life down. I truly wanted the Lord in my life. I truly wanted Him to come in and save me. And 100% I was in tears, and the way of the Holy Spirit put me in tears all night, and I started seeing dreams and visions of the Lord. And secondly, the Lord showed me certain events that were going to happen in my life. That's when I was very young. Absolutely no internet, nobody around to sort of relate to. You know what I'm saying? That's just been my life, But then when I got saved, the Lord showed me that the Holy Spirit came into my life at certain times right throughout my childhood. As I explained as well, I was speaking in tongues age 4 when my mother was in bed. She was ill in bed for several days. She had like the flu or something. And I was like stranded. I couldn't get out of the house or just grabbed like orange juice. She used to give me orange juice in the morning. And I grabbed a mug, like a big cup, just poured the orange juice in, and I took it to her when I was 4 years old, and she laughed, Remember that. She remembers that. And also, any money that I got from me being a child, my mother used that to buy a fridge. She didn't have any money because, well, she left my dad. And so she didn't have anything. So I know it's weird. It's sick. A lot of people would be like, "What, you used a child's money?" People that gave me money so that I could do stuff when I'm older. My mother never really gave me anything. But I'm not saying she didn't give me anything, because it worked out that God has supplied everything to me in my entire life. That's the other part of my testimony. It's like, I probably never explained that very well. But it's not that I've taken it for granted. It's just that I'll give you an example. Like, I've heard other people's testimonies. I've went to tent meetings, and I've heard how Pastor Bob has left his dog, his wife, his children to go and serve God, and God's done miracles and this and that, and then they've moved to bigger houses and X, Y, and Z. And these same men have been dumbstruck when they've heard my testimony. They've looked at me and said, how on earth have you been able to do what you've done? You know, travel Europe, and not just that, but you know, literally having a street ministry, going out taking the gospel to, you know, the city that I was staying around, Glasgow, and preaching in London. Got friends in London that I can go out preaching with, and around the world, I guess. I've not been to America as much as I wanted to. I've only been once. I went to North Carolina. I went to Fayetteville, I think it's called, and I preached the gospel where they actually used to sell the slaves. I preached the gospel there of liberation, and got a lot of toots. You know, there was a roundabout, and it was like a city square type of thing. People were just coming up talking to me like casually while I was preaching. It's unusual. I didn't have a microphone. I was just out with my prayer warrior friend at the time, Heidi. I hope she's doing okay. You can pray for Heidi, by the way. Anyhow, so my brother in the Lord came up from, I think it was not Arizona, it was, I forget the name of that state, but it's the same state as Photo Helix is from. What's the name of that state again? Nashville, Tennessee. Yeah. Well, he came up from there to see me, spent a few days. We talked about the Bible, our testimonies for about 2 or 3 days, which was amazing. I prayed about understanding the Lord's calendar, and this man was an ex-Amish, and he started his own ministry, X, Y, and Z. He ended up in jail. Like, one of his children accused him of a certain thing, a crime or something like that, taking money or whatever. And because of the accusation of his, I think his child, he ended up in jail. The same man who taught me the actual calendar, the Lord's calendar. You can call it the Hebrew calendar, you can call it the solar calendar, call it what you want. But I've seen righteous men and women suffer. I don't have a testimony whereby I've met like big preachers and they're driving around in Cadillacs and everything's fine, and I've never came across these people in my walk. Like, the closest I've ever came to that when I was in Northern Ireland, there's a man called, and what was his name again? But there's a very big church in Northern Ireland, which the name escapes me right now. But that man is a gem. That man is a gentleman. But he had a very sort of it was built by sort of American style, you know, evangelical churches. Still trying to think of his name. It might come to me. But it's one of the biggest churches in Belfast. And that man, honestly, everyone who drives in their cars, he will wave at them. And when you come into the church, he will acknowledge you and speak to you. And at the end, he will always shake your hand and he will always talk to you. Like, very, very genuine man. Because obviously they were dealing with the separation of Catholics and Protestants and all of that stuff. I know they were doing quite well financially, but that's the closest I've came to a sort of a TV. It was on God TV. I think it was on God TV, sort of a UK church. Not like Destiny. Let's not go there. But he was genuine. He was very genuine. But all the people I've really learned from, what I'm trying to say is, all the people that have really been used by God in my life, that I've been led to for certain reasons, they're afflicted, you know. I think it says that Jacob walked with a limp because he was wrestling, you know, with the angel of God, you know. Why, you know? You just wonder why. I mean, one of the reasons, I think, is because, you know, when I was growing up, I had an uncle, and I also a friend that I used to go and visit, called Craig. My uncle was called David. But these two guys, one of them was like my big brother. Like, Craig was like my big brother. David was my uncle. But when we did fighting, seriously, he was rough with me. I'll tell you, he was very, very, very rough. Like by today's standards, you could be like reprimanded for literally punching yeah. I mean, I got all that when I was very young. And when you're a child, like when you're a child, children are very resilient, you know. But I know that he never did it to hurt me. I know he was doing it for a reason, to toughen me up. You understand? So it's like tough love. There's tough love, and my dad, even though he didn't like do that physically, he didn't like show me how to fight or anything like that. It was more like I was teaching myself, but just studying. I studied a couple of things, you know. I was able to take care of myself, you know, just to defend myself. I never went looking for a fight. But there's one of the times that there's a guy 6'6", and I'm talking when we were about 15 years old, and the guy was 6.5 feet tall. So you can imagine like a guy like AJ, Anthony Joshua, is 6.5 feet tall. Me, I'm not even 5'10". I'm actually smaller than Mike Tyson. So when I was 15, there was a guy. He was from Liverpool, and it wasn't bullying me, but one of the times he sort of barged into me a couple of times, and I just thought, okay, I can't even remember what happened, but I ended up with a couple of like, I don't know, I'm trying to remember what happened, but I managed to hit him. I just hit him once, and he disappeared somewhere. Like the headmaster got involved, all these different teachers got involved, and apparently he didn't say another word all day after that. And I was called into the office, and I was explained to me that Matthew was his name. Matthew was going through a 2-year dental surgery to bring his teeth out. They were growing in the way. So he was going through dental surgery for 2 years to bring them out. And just that one punch literally knocked all his teeth back into his mouth. And he had to get reverted. Like, it was all kind of weird stuff. But they were looking at me like, who are you? Are you like a martial artist or what? I'm like, I'm shrugging my shoulders, not knowing what to do. That was one of the few fights I did get into 1 or 2 fights at school, as you do. But anyhow, but that was one of them, you know. And it's just certain occasions. There's another occasion as well. I was taken to play golf, and this guy was a club champion, and he was like, I'd say he was about 19, 20, and I was about 15, 16 at the time. And I joined this club, and also the first hole was at Bothwell Castle. The first hole was about 350 yards, and there's a massive tree just before you come to the green on the right hand side, and then it's just trees on the right, the big massive tree, and then the green. So what you could do, you could try and fade it, which means going from left to right onto the green, or you can try and hit it over the tree and get it on the green. And it had only been done like once. Like people had spoken about, oh, you know, Charlie back in the 50s was able to do it a couple of times, and you know, that type of thing. And this club champion had done it on quite a few occasions. So he took me to play golf for the first time, and he showed me this tree, and I had a go with my driver, and I hit it right over the tree. The ball landed 350 yards on the green, right, and ran another 50 or 60 yards through the green. So I actually hit the ball about almost 400 yards. So when people talk about Tiger Woods and all that, there's just a strength, and I believe that when I was younger, I got my strength from the Lord. I got the strength from the Holy Spirit, and I kind of knew what strength I had. And that's why I didn't get into any fights, because I was actually thinking I could kill someone or whatever if I get into a fight. I never did. Never got into any fights. I've always avoided them. So, people look at my situation. I always give things to the Lord. If people are trying to steal things from me, do bad things to me, to wind me up the wrong way, to see if I'll act physically against them, which people do all the time. We're living in a very fleshly driven world that Satan will always try to get people to react that way. And I'm thankful, and I could tell you more stories about soccer, five-a-side. The Lord gave me a really good five-a-side team where I was able to train even with professionals wanting to come and train my five-a-side team on a Sunday. And then the Jehovah's Witnesses actually invited me to go and play with them. I think it was like a Tuesday or a Wednesday night. I had to stop that, but I did it for a long time. They tried to kick lumps out of me. It was literally like the five people in opposition would be literally swinging at me, literally like doing kicks at me, and I'd be dodging them, and I get a kind of kick out of winning games, but it just came to the point that obviously I just let that witness happen because I was born again, and they knew I was born again. I invited them to my baptism. They didn't come. I think my friend was speaking at one of their meetings, and I went and listened to him just to encourage him. But that's just the way it is. The spirit of Satan is in these people. Maybe they don't know it, but isn't it obvious? I mean, listening to this, you might think, okay, maybe you don't know the background I've had, you don't know the type of life I've had in Scotland. I've not really been able to put into words because Scotland is the kind of place that it's hard to put into words. What Scotland is, the type of place it is, and it has been used mightily by God. But at the same time, there are wicked people in Scotland that I'm not saying necessarily. It could be Knights Templar. There could be Roman Catholics, Jesuits. There's always been this sort of spiritual and physical warfare with the Catholic Church within Scotland and Ireland and basically Great Britain, because it was the first country, I think, in the world to actually announce a national covenant, except that Israel did it back in the day that they had a country, before the Lord came 2,000 years ago. They had a national covenant, during the days of Moses, and then they got their own land. But Scotland was the only other country in the world that have had a national covenant with the God of the Bible. People don't realise the kind of spiritual warfare that really goes on. I mean, I understand in America it is similar in a lot of ways, but at the same time, I don't know, maybe a lot of people can relate to me in America, maybe more than you realise. But I've always tried to speak about my experiences, but people tend to get confused because maybe I drop the word Sabbath sometimes, and as I said, it's like dropping a bomb on a lot of Christians. They just don't know how to react. They should react with love to the law, but they don't. Because the law is good. You should act with love according to the laws of God. But you can't act with love if you don't know the lawgiver, if you don't know the king who actually wrote these laws. And you kind of wonder why not, but then again, it makes sense. If you don't know the lawgiver and the King of Kings truly, and I know it's a very stark thing to say, it's like a shock. Like, not many people say it, but it's got to be said. It's got to be said. If you don't love the laws, the Ten Commandments and the laws of God, how can you say that you know the King who gave these laws to Moses, and it was Jesus Christ. And his name is Yeshua, and his name is Yahweh. And to you, as an English speaker, they're just names that sound different to each other. But every name has a meaning. Every name has a meaning. So Jesus, apparently, in English, means salvation. Now, I thought salvation meant salvation in English. No? No? Salvador? So what? You know, every language has meanings. They have meanings. And these names come from root meanings, root words. Yeshua. You know, in Hebrew, it is a beautiful language. There's no doubt about it. When I got saved and I started speaking in tongues, one of the things I asked the Lord was about his name. And I know it is Yahweh. You know, because that was the name that came out of my mouth. That's the name that I believe is anointed. It's truly his anointed name. I'm not joking. You may say, well, it's not, you know, I've tried to do deliverances in that name and nothing's happened. Do you know Yahweh? Do you know him? Like just a little, like I've never really given testimonies like that before about certain things in my life that's happened. But why, I don't know. I've never really spoken about it. Maybe that's why God wanted me to make this video today, just to give you a little bit more view into my life, into the walk I've had, into the great successes I've had. And when you look at the struggles that all races have had, human beings, nationalities have had, they've struggled in war, they've struggled in famine, they've struggled with all types of things, you know, world wars, you know, being stuck in trenches and just hanging on to life with our bare fingertips. And now it comes to the end days where there's a flu bug going around and the world shuts down. How sad is that? Think about that. Think about that. No wonder the Lord said to seal these words up, Daniel. Because the Lord didn't want humanity to know before this how weak humanity would be at the end of time. Because it's an embarrassment, man. It's an embarrassment. Going around with a mask on and, oh, have you got your mask on? And, oh, have you washed your hands? And have you got your... You just want to, boom. You just want to take all that crap away from them and wake them up and say, stop playing around. What you're afraid of is that you're afraid of going to hell. You don't have God in your life. You don't know God. What church do you say? You go to the Kingdom Hall, or you go to this church or that church, you're going to hell. You're an Anglican, you're a Roman Catholic, you are going to hell. If you are afraid of a flu virus, you must be out of your mind. Satan is laughing and laughing and laughing. And the more he laughs, the more people are afraid. And that, I'm telling you, that's what's happening in the spiritual realm today. And it's very, very sad to see humanity going down to the level of AJ saying to the black community, remember and take the vaccine. What a devil he is. What an absolute devil he is. He's going to hell in a handbasket. AJ. Huh? He's a bum. He's the biggest bum that ever entered a boxing ring. I could beat AJ, whatever his name is. Give me like 6 weeks training, I'll knock him out, man. I'll knock AJ out. I'm not joking. Give me 6 weeks, I'll beat him. I'll beat him. Beat him up. He's a bum. He's a bum. My favourite boxer, by the way, is Rocky Marciano. Rocky Marciano. He trained road work. Road work was his thing. He hit the road and he hit the heavy bag. That was his basic way of training. Road work and heavy bag. And he just literally got in that ring and just let rip. Let rip. He didn't care who was in front of him, if it was a rhinoceros, a tiger, whatever it was. He just kept swinging, hitting until whatever was in front of him was on the ground. And that's what I'd do to AJ. That's what I would do to him. I would knock him out. And I would give him a purse to orphans. I would give him a purse to orphans. By the way, God bless Tyson Fury, by the way. God bless Tyson Fury for helping out homeless people and doing something the British government has never done for about 50 years, actually help people. God bless Tyson Fury. Pray for that man. Pray for Tyson Fury. How can anybody say that somebody doesn't know God and yet they're going out their way to help people? Are you helping anybody? All you bums out there that think you're great Christians, you're going to get raptured. Who are you helping? Yourself? You're building up your own stupid ministry that nobody cares about. Oh, I got a really good ministry. I got a... Who cares, man? There's people dying out there. Are you helping anyone? Seriously? I mean, you don't know what I've had to walk through in my life. My own mother taking money from me so she can buy a fridge. That's the background I'm from. What background are you from exactly? You're from the hood? I don't give a shit, man. Where you're from. Listen, anybody wants to fight me, I'll take them out at a moment's notice. At a moment's notice. I'll take you out. I'll take you out. Seriously. This is the end times, man. This is the end times. You've got to stand up strong and serve God. Stand up and serve God. And you can only do that in love. You can't do it any other way. But when bums get in your face, there things happen, man. You know, things happen. So I've seen God drop people. I've seen God. There's another testimony I had. I was in Glasgow. I was preaching, and one of the times, one guy wanted to kill me, and I had to defend myself. So I prayed about the next time, and it was just before I left the city that an entire city block was burnt down, and that was the same place that we had been preaching for well over a year, like sporadically over 10 years, but actually very consistently about 18 months, where the nightclub of Victoria's actually was, and we went out there preaching some nights. That entire place was burnt to the ground. And it was about that week, and I went out again, and this huge guy came out, and he was wanting to hit me, right? And then this massive guy, this bigger guy that I've ever seen, is about almost 7 feet tall. I don't know where he came from. He actually grabbed this guy and put him. He grabbed this guy, he just lifted him over to the side and just said, "No, you won't do that." And just took him away. He was kicking and screaming, just took him away so that I could continue preaching. That was the last time I preached in Glasgow. I decided after that the Lord wanted me to move on, because I prayed about it for a little while. And here I am. I'm now in West Africa. After travelling about 17 or 18 countries in mostly Eastern Europe. Saw West Germany as well, saw bits of France. Yeah, I mean, my testimony's on here on my channel, so listen, I'm not afraid of death. I'm not afraid of fighting some bum, especially a bum that thinks that they are someone in this life. Just give me 6 weeks, I'll fight these bums, man. I'll beat them. Senseless. And I'll donate my purse to charity, man. Right? That's the challenge for AJ. Anthony, the bum Joshua. Right? God bless you all. By the way, don't take the vaccine.